I'd like to invite my colleague at SDSC, Dr. Joanne Wallis. I'd like to tell you something about her work and what she has brought to the Strategic and Defense Studies Center and to the ANU. I want to highlight again, useful use of time, 3 things about Joanne's work that I think you really need to know about and to pay attention to. First of all, Joanne's work is multidisciplinary and multifocal in research. She comes from a background of law, political science, international studies, and she has an area of specialization in the Pacific. Now, she's come to the ANU via corporate law in Melbourne, a Fulbright, a near miss at DFAT, and a PhD in Cambridge. We'll forgive you that part. She's done field research in Tonga, Timor-Leste, and Bougainville, amongst other places. She works on peace building and transitional justice, which are areas that she has published in. You will find her books in that desk over there behind you. And a key theme of her research is the need to pay attention to the micro level, everyday, taken for granted aspects of the lives of people in conflict-affected areas that really have an impact on the chances for achieving peace. Her current ARC Discovery project analyzes how Australia conducts peace building in the Pacific Islands. And she's got a particular focus on micro-level roles of individual Australian military, policing, and civilian personnel, and their engagement with local socio-political practices and institutions. Secondly, I'd like to highlight that Joanne's approach to academic pursuit has been collaborative and multi-pronged in a really impressive way. After publishing her first book based on her PhD with Cambridge University Press, Constitution Making During State Building, she began to leverage one of her key findings in collaboration with other ANU colleagues. Now, this key finding was the importance of seeking what she calls hybridity, or the engagement between local and international socio-political practices and institutions. With other ANU colleagues, Joanne received a Horizons project grant, which led to a year-long series of seminars here in the Bell School on under-examined aspects of hybridity. This resulted in a special issue of a journal and an edited volume, Hybridity in Peace Building and Development, published by ANU Press last year. She's also been involved in an ARC Discovery project looking at transitional justice in the Pacific Islands. This will result in a forthcoming edited book, Civil Society and Transitional Justice in Asia and the Pacific. Now, Joanne's got a second area of research focus on security and Australia's strategy in the Pacific Islands. Her second book with Melbourne University Press is Pacific Power, Australia's Strategy in the Pacific Islands. She's looked at Australia's influence in the Pacific Islands over the last 40 years. And she's very kindly used and adapted a framework that other colleagues in the center have drawn up on this question of influence and used it to great effect in the Pacific cases. So apart from demonstrating the amplifying and collaborative potentials of being in this vibrant ANU intellectual community, Joanne's book was also based on a course that she designed and taught for the undergraduate program on Australian security in the Pacific Islands, and also based on her interactions with Australian and other government officials. Which leads me to the third highlight I'd like to draw to your attention of Joanne's work, which is impact in 2 very real senses for all academics. First area of impact, of course, is the fact that some policymakers may choose to listen to us. And Joanne's got a fantastic story on this one from last year when she published the Center of Gravity paper with the Strategic and Defense Studies Center of the project on Australia's strategy in the Pacific Islands, and had a letter from the Prime Minister of Australia congratulating her and the center for publishing this influential and important work. Not many of us have that, so we were kind of jealous. But the center basked in Joanne's glory, of course. She's also briefed US government agencies and advised on PNG's first foreign policy white paper. The part that I am most impressed by is the way that Joanne has integrated her teaching with her research. And for example, in the course of teaching a large undergraduate first semester, first year course in the Bachelor of International Security Studies, Introduction to International Security Studies, she identified a gap in the literature. There was no textbook that was usable at that level for undergraduates. So Joanne and our colleague Andrew Carr, who's standing over there, co-edited a textbook, which we still use today, Introduction to International Security. No, that's not her. Asia Pacific Security and Introduction. And Joanne's impactful teaching was recognized in a slew of teaching awards in 2016. She won the CAP Award for Teaching Excellence, the ANU Vice Chancellor's Award for Teaching Excellence for an early career researcher, and she also gained a citation for outstanding contribution to student learning in the Australian Awards for University Teaching in the same year. So it's my very great pleasure to turn the stage over to Joanne now, after having embarrassed her extensively. Please.
I'm not embarrassed, I've got a huge ego. I'm just joking. Thank you. Thank you, Evelyn. So I'm going to quickly give my thoughts, and I had two key bits of advice that I would give to my younger self and to women starting their careers, I think mainly in academia, but I think what I have to say would apply more generally too. The first one is to find yourself an honest mentor. And I have been very lucky. I was very lucky when I started at SDSC. I was the first full-time woman academic that they'd ever hired. And I was very lucky that in the week after I started, Professor Joan Beaumont also started in SDSC and basically saved me. And she has saved me ever since, in 7.5 years that I've been here. I take the opportunity to thank you publicly, Joan. I don't think you appreciate how much you mean to me. So, and the important thing about an honest mentor is you want a mentor that doesn't just tell you what you want to hear. And a mentor differs from a friend, although I think I can safely call Joan my friend as well. When she has her mentor hat on, she frequently tells me that I'm being precious, that I need to pull my head in and suck it up. And you often need that advice. I mean, women and men here, you would know that when you're talking to your friends, they tell you what you want to hear. I mean, my best friend, I don't think she'd actually kill someone, but I think she'd probably dispose of a body for me. But you don't want that kind of blind loyalty when you're asking for advice about your career. You want the honest, and sometimes there's things you don't want to hear. And I run to Joan's office all the time to complain. And more often than not, she talks me off the ledge, and she makes me see things in a more reasonable way. And she also gives me advice about how to deal with things. I have 2 women mentees now, and I try to give the same advice to them. But I really advise finding an honest mentor. The second one actually comes out from some of the themes that Evelyn identified in my research, is the importance of collaboration. I've spent 2.5 of the last 4.5 years on maternity leave. I have a 4-year-old and 2-year-old twins. But my research hasn't really slowed, and that's because, well, I love my research, so I kept doing it anyway when I was on mat leave, apart from the really brutal times. But it was because of my collaborators. And the importance of having a collaborator that will carry you when you can't always carry the load. Evelyn referred to an ARC grant that I've just finished, and I did that with Renee Jeffrey at Griffith Uni and with Leah Kent, who's in RegNet here. And the reason that we were able to produce quite a few very good journal articles and a book and a special issue is because there was times when I couldn't do things, when my babies were in hospital or I was very unwell, and they carried me. They did the work. They checked the references. They followed things up. They responded to referees. I mean, I tried to pick up the load at other times, but it's that helping you to smooth over those bumps in your career, and it still happens. Now, Leah still carries me at different times. I mean, she has a child as well, and I carry her at different times, but collaboration is incredibly important. And I think that probably applies in all different workplaces, is finding people that can help you in the difficult times.